How should we have fought COVID from the beginning? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show.
Well, happy Monday there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show, and thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am joining you as always from our Stratus IP studios here in lovely Eastern Indiana. Don't let cyber attacks or outdated business technology put your company at risk. Learn more at briannicholsshow.com/Stratus IP. Well, let's talk about how we should have dealt with COVID from the beginning. Now, if you joined us here on the program way back in, March, April, May of 2020, despite what was the common narrative, which was being promoted by fear to stay home, stay safe, and basically isolate to the end of time, we were saying maybe there's a different approach. Maybe we should be taking this more from a different factors that are out there, namely age, high risk, and then also what's the best way to deal with COVID? Who are the folks that are actually going to be at risk? And is there a way to address those factors, like maybe if they're overweight, to lose some weight, maybe go outside, get some sunshine? But no, we were considered to be conspiracy theorists. We were not following the science. We were not trusting the experts. Well, let's go ahead and have a fitness expert on the show today who maybe is going to talk a little bit about what actually worked here over the past few years. Kaleena George joining us here on the show. Kaleena, thanks for joining the Brian Nichols Show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. And let's kind of kick things off here because you've really built up a name here in the greater liberty movement over the past few years, really in the world of fitness as well, which I doubly appreciate, myself being a fitness fanatic. I used to weigh 385 pounds. So I love going to the gym every morning, getting my lift in. But I think, when you're talking about the bridging of the fitness world and the world of politics, it really happened over the past few years because a lot of folks in the fitness world who were looking at what the reaction from the government was being done were like, this is insane. This is not how we approach this. And you specifically have had some experience and have really built up a nice audience there talking about not just the insanity from the government response, but also, the vaccine, right? Which we will talk about today. A lot of the force and the coercion that was pushed from top down to get folks to take this vax. But before we get there, let's go ahead and let you introduce yourself to the Brian Nichols Show audience and your world in this fitness world that you found yourself in.
Awesome. Yeah. So actually, although fitness has always been a part of my life since I was 17 years old, so almost 20 years, like coming on 20 years, actually during the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't work in fitness. I actually worked in the hospital. I was a physician assistant. I practiced medicine for 6 years. I worked in the ICU, and I did practice all the way through April of 2021. So I think that I have a really unique perspective on basically like the fitness side as well as the health side, the hospital side, everything like that. So I definitely, some things that I noticed right away, especially from working in the hospital and just from my experience in medicine, was we had kind of been through like a pandemic scare before that I don't know. And I don't think I've mentioned this on a podcast before, but a lot of people who did not work in medicine around like, I think 2013, 14, 15, maybe might not remember this, but there was a big like Ebola scare around that time. And we saw some similar kind of, measures with lots of questionnaires wanting to kind of like isolate people who had maybe been to different parts of the world and approaching it like that. So I remember like the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, thinking back to that experience and thinking this is probably nothing, they're overblowing it. I definitely didn't think that they would go as drastic as they ended up going at that time. But I already I definitely had like my flags going off right away. Now I thought it would just kind of, come and go just like the Ebola scares that they had, but they really obviously dove right into this one. And y'all know the story there. But I agree with you that there was no when you talk about like the different demographics, because you mentioned that there was definitely no differentiation between like a high risk person, a low risk person, and how do we approach this? It was definitely very draconian, like one size fits all, like public health approach, which is never a good thing. And we can talk about this later, but that starts right from the moment you're born. Basically, here in the United States with the childhood schedule, same thing. There's no, this child's high risk because they're going to maybe go to a lot of schooling and everything early on. Maybe this one's low risk based on where they live, the class sizes they're going to attend, different things like that. It's all one size fits all. When it comes to public health, everyone needs all these shots or everyone needs to be locked in their house. So I think when you approach things from that standpoint, you've automatically lost credibility in my mind.
So I want to reverse. Let's go way back, right? I'm not sure. Are you super familiar with the way we've gotten to where we are in modern medicine?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about.
With Rockefeller. So from the understanding that I've in my reading is that Rockefeller really wanted to help isolate the what we consider now like big pharma, right? And this more top-down approach to medicine versus what was at that time more of your traditional medicine, which was the more holistic approach to medicine, which was a lot of what our grandparents, right, grew up, or our great-grandparents grew up as their medicines. And it's funny, I still think back to my great-grandma grew up in the Great Depression and hearing the stories that she would share about things that was considered medicine or remedies. And it's like, oh, okay, grandma, that's weird. Like, it was like, put this under your toe and it will, keep it there for 5 days wrapped up in duct tape. And it's like, oh, what? Okay. But that was medicine. And they're behind it. It was completely like voodoo in the public discourse. And it was done from the quote expert class. We see this again, right? Where it was focused to take this holistic approach to medicine and to get rid of it from the traditional discourse and to make it like it's quack science, right? And that has led to where we are today, where you have really this separation of big pharma and the prescription drug world that we have as the solution to the medical issues. Which are they solutions? We can talk about that. But then the other side, right? And it's more of how do we address the health problems instead of simply just throwing medicines at it, much your approach. How do we, go the fitness route? How do we live a healthier lifestyle? And how do we do that not just when we're in the gym, but what we're putting in our body, right? The food we eat, the environment that we put ourselves in. There's all these different factors that all add up. And I guess it really speaks to how it's been such an uphill battle. And I think, back when I was 385 pounds, it was weird for me because like, the only reason I wanted to lose weight was because I was told to by a doctor and I saw like I needed to. But beyond that, like I didn't really see the societal problem that was happening around me because everybody else was getting heavy too, right? And then all of a sudden, now that I've lost weight and I go to the gym and I kind of like drive down the street and just look at where we are as a society, it's scary. Like I just shared this over on Twitter. I gotta look this up. I'll let you go ahead as I turn this over to you. And I'll pull up the graphic. But I think it was like our weight has like tripled overnight in a generation. Here, you take over really quick. I'm gonna pull a graphic up. Hold tight, 1 sec.
Okay, so kind of backing up on that was an interesting point. I think when it comes to like the weight gain that we've seen as a society, we live in a society of abundance, and it's been this way for decades. But also simultaneously, the food quality has really started to go down, especially since probably I would say like the 1980s. We started, and I'm not saying that's when we got microwaves, but we started getting microwaves. Everything was microwavable. Everything was easy. Restaurant portions increased. Processed foods increased, the ingredients got worse. And at this point, we basically live in so much abundance that if you don't put controls on yourself, you will just naturally gain weight. And so I think that's kind of where we're at as a society. No matter, how much money you have and stuff, it's not like we're facing starvation anymore in our country. Like, and I'm sure there are areas where that is a factor. And I'm not,
You just spoke to the 1980s, right? I have here for the folks who are on the podcast version of the show, which I know like 90 some odd % of you are. Go to the YouTube, go to the Rumble, go to the Odyssey. Check this out because this graphic is just insane. From 1987 to 2021, our obesity rates have tripled.
Yeah.
Tripled in one generation, tripled. And I say that as someone who I was morbidly obese. Like, yeah, it's a big problem. I mean, I look at my home state of New York, and New York, I mean, you think it used to be like the healthiest state. Now 25% of the state is considered obese.
My
It's
God.
mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, that's my puppy. He's in the other room. So what's interesting to me is I see on that in the very first picture, Louisiana, which is actually the state that I've lived in here for 8 years. It's completely white, so I'm assuming that that may have one of the lowest levels of obesity, even though I don't see it that on, I don't see that on their chart here. But now we are obviously at the highest level of obesity. So what happened there? Because home cooking and things like that have always been a part of Louisiana culture. But what changed? Was it the food quality? Was it portion size? Is it alcohol? Is it, maybe we were working a lot more physical labor back then? I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of different factors in play, but that's interesting. I didn't realize in 1987, correct me if I'm wrong, correct me if they just maybe didn't have data and that's why it's white, but it looks like we didn't really have a problem. Now we have a huge problem here in this state.
Oh, huge problem, huge problems. And this actually was shared by Luke Rodowski over on his Twitter when this, where I originally found this. And his question was like, well, what happened here? Right. And that's the big question is, well, what did happen here? And there are so many factors that go into this, whether it's, we talk about Big Pharma tossing medications at our various ailments and saying, this is your solution, good luck. Or it's big food, right? Going out and subsidizing all these terrible, terrible things that we're ingesting into our bodies on the daily. You just look at the foods from, just 20 years ago to where they are today. They're almost different foods. And that speaks to, I think, also what's happening is that the food that we're eating, it's not really food anymore. It's losing its nutritional value. And that's scary, right? Because you could eat what you think is a healthy-ish diet and still struggle in the United States. But it's because there are so many hidden things that people just don't pay attention to. And I guess that speaks to why it is so important for us to be like actually, smart consumers, I guess, like to go out, read the labels, take the time to know, where's your food coming from? I moved to a small rural area in Eastern Indiana. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to make sure I'm going to start using like a local butcher because I don't want to be in a situation. Oh, we'll get you back in a sec. I don't want to be a situation where there you are, where all the
on airplane mode or something. I don't know why phone calls are disrupting it.
Oh, no, you're good. No, but I was saying I don't want to be in a situation where like, I'm like, I was in Philadelphia, I'm going to a supermarket and I have no idea where this food is coming. Like, where's the cow that this was from? Like, I can go to the butcher and know like this cow is from down the road. You know what I mean? And that right there, knowing where your food comes from and having more of a relationship with that, but also then the other part of it, and this is something that you really focus on, is living the healthy lifestyle by getting active, going out, testing your limits, like pushing yourself beyond where you think you can go to prepare yourself for not just today, but for tomorrow. Because God only knows what the heck the future is going to bring.
Yeah. So actually, I had done a poll like a couple of days ago because I talked about myself and my son. And my son, he's pretty picky with his diet. But I said, my son and I both basically eat like nonstop. Okay. Like we eat like there's no tomorrow, both of us. But both of us have like an ideal BMI. He's 5 years old. But why is that? I asked the question, what food do you think that we avoid? And actually it turned out once people started answering, I was like, there's probably like 3 things. But the one major one that I was thinking of, a lot of people did guess, and that was sugar. Like basically, I think a huge problem that we have is sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Obviously, there's all sorts of other awful ingredients like, food dyes, artificial, flavorings, different things like that. Like you talked about with the meat, there could be hormones, antibiotics, all those things. But I really think that the sugar is one of the biggest issues. Obviously, our dairy, we actually do avoid dairy too. So that was like a secondary answer, but it's not like a main one. And things like alcohol too, like people, a lot of people say like my metabolism got so much worse, as I got a little bit older. Well, what, as I got out of my teens or something, well, what happened when you got out of your teens? You started also drinking alcohol. What happened when you showed up at college? You started drinking alcohol. So that's something that I really work on. With my clients is I try to explain to them, like, you probably are not going to get the results that you want nearly as fast or efficiently if you're still drinking alcohol. So that's a huge theme to me, the alcohol, sugar for sure. I don't prescribe though to the idea that we should do like a low fat diet, low carb diet. I eat carbohydrates. They just need to be quality carbohydrates. And I believe in a very balanced diet, that's the healthiest thing, because anything that you avoid, like if I try to like biohack, I'm not into that. If I say like, I'm a go ketosis, well, you got to stay in ketosis. So the second that, there's not that food around, you have to have carbs and stuff, then you run the risk of your body doesn't know how to handle it. Now you're in a situation where it doesn't know what to do. It's storing fat, doing things like that, messing up your metabolism. So I don't believe in doing anything like drastic or extreme. That's, what I tell my clients. That's what I tell myself. And I think that it works very well. Like I had told everybody, for the last 2 weeks, I've been moving and I hadn't worked out. Like I've trained my clients and I've had to leave the gym. There's no shame in that. After 17 years of being in the gym, this happens sometimes. This is life. It doesn't mean I don't get right back on the wagon, but also you have to look at the fact that I don't think that that's going to make me gain weight. And it certainly didn't. What does it do? It's going to affect my muscles. They're going to like atrophy a little bit. I'm going to lose some strength. I might, lose a little bit of definition, but I'm not going to just gain weight because I didn't work out for 2 weeks. Like that would show that I have a metabolic problem if that happened, or that I'm overtraining to try to stay in a deficit. That's not what you want. You want to have a healthy metabolism. You want to have healthy hormone profile. Your body, like working out, lifting weights, stuff like that should be adding to you, not like trying to keep you where you're at. If you think that you have to get on and do a bunch of cardio to like lose weight or maintain your body fat, like you're already in a bad position. So
Yeah. And I was looking really quick, the obesity rate increase during COVID. And the reason I wanted to look that up, because this goes back to when we first started out our conversation today. What was the best way to actually deal with COVID? And we saw the stay home save lives, namely your life, right? And we see, CDC recognition, adult obesity as an epidemic has increased exponentially since the pandemic started, especially amongst children ages 2 to 19. How about that? So I was just reading that over in the CDC here on the good old Google device. But anyways, that goes back to, well, what should we have done, right?
So
Instead of locking folks down for God only knows how long, what would you have said? All of a sudden, Kaleena, you're in charge of the CDC. No, you're right next to Trump. You're Anthony Fauci instead. You're taking the role. What's your recommendations?
Okay, so first of all, I want to know, what does the CDC? Did they say what the cause is? Are they taking some ownership there, or they're just like doing the thing that they always do, which is like, we don't know why like this happened, but it did, or it was unforeseeable circumstances. The truth is that they closed down gyms. They even went so far as to close down like public areas, like parks, playgrounds, different things like that. They scared people like to, like to the fact that if they're near other people, they're going to get sick, die, or have someone in their family catch the illness, die. Like so much stress around the situation that people just avoided going public places. Not everyone. So right now I just moved to the country. I have, like over an acre of land. It wouldn't really matter to me if they close down everything right now, because I go outside, go for a little run in a circle, it's my property. I can get a couple of things. I could get some rocks and lift them, whatever, push-ups, pull-ups, whatever. But that's not everyone's case. A lot of people are packed in little apartments and stuff like that, especially if you think about cities, New York, or just even smaller cities. People lived in apartments and things where they didn't have a lot of space. They're closing those gyms down. They're doing things like taping off, walkways and recreational areas. That was awful for those people. That was absolutely the wrong thing to do. And yes, it definitely put them into disservice. Obesity, as we know, was linked to a worse outcome with COVID, and it's linked to worse outcomes just in general with your health. So I think they absolutely mismanaged that. They definitely, first of all, I'm very libertarian. I do not think that they should have locked down anything. They could have put out some recommendations for older people of how we could protect them. But especially for younger people, I don't think, like making people mask when they're around other people, like that was ridiculous. I even saw that they went so far as to like have children wear masks during PE, which sounds totally dangerous and just inappropriate to me.
And
So,
in band class, can you believe that?
oh, in band class, yeah. They had to have like a hole in there to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's absurd. And I think they totally mismanaged that. They should have been talking to people about if they really cared, if this wasn't just about selling a pharmaceutical product and taking authoritarian control, then they would have told you, go outside, get a walk. You need more vitamin D. Vitamin D is going to actually protect you. They would have told you every pound you can lose is going to increase your chance of living if and when you catch the virus, because as we know, everyone eventually was going to catch the virus at least once, if not 2, 3, sometimes 3 times for people now, despite having the vaccines. So if they were really for our health, they would have put out recommendations like that. They would have talked to us about healthy eating, different things like that. They wouldn't have closed down the gym. They would have maybe closed down, like, I don't know, the liquor store or something like that. I mean, it is what it is. And I don't think that they should have done that either, because again, that's an authoritarian measure. But I'm just saying none of it made sense from a health perspective.
A lot of it still doesn't make sense. It's all insanity. And frankly, that's I have a good friends there over at our Sound Mind Creative Group team that just is finishing up the new mini docu-series. Follow the science. Lockdowns go viral. So please, folks, go ahead, give those guys some loves, because they're doing some great stuff and telling the real story about what happened over the past 3 years, which also 3 years, really, we're already at 3 years. Oh my gosh, it's insane. And I guess I hope we're at a point, that's where I'm at. I'm hoping we're at a point where this is kind of going to end. But to your point, we see this in so many different areas in life, in government already taking once they have this role that they think is now their responsibility, they're just going to expand upon it. So, what can we do to prevent the next pandemic? How can we lock down harder, right? With that being said, unfortunately, I just looked at the clock. We're already hard pressed for time. So, Kaleena, with that, where can folks go ahead, follow you, continue the conversation they want to learn more?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'm on my main platform is Instagram. I've been on Instagram for about 2 years. I started on Instagram in, I think, June of 2021. Over there, I talk a lot about health freedom, vaccines. I talk about, although I'm vague about it because it's Instagram, y'all know, and you don't want to get censored and lose your platform. But I do a lot of stuff over there, talk about libertarianism, talk about health and fitness also. So that's that Liberty Chick. All one word on Instagram. I'm also now on Twitter, and on Twitter, it was too long. So it's THT Liberty Chick on Twitter. And there I have a lot more. It's mostly libertarian content, but I do post some workout videos, do post some stuff about food, eating, things like that, just encouragement about lifestyle. And then so far that's about it. I'm on Rumble also, but I haven't been posting a lot of videos there. I'll probably start up again. And that is, my channel over there is called That Liberty Chick. And soon I will probably be starting a YouTube, but I do not have it yet. And I also have Facebook. Again, That Liberty Chick. It's all the same.
Perfect. And we'll include all those links in the show notes. So folks, go, if you're on the podcast version of the show, click the artwork in your podcast catcher. It'll bring you right over to briannicholsshow.com, where you can find, yes, all those links, plus the entire transcript from today's episode. And yes, the video version, so you can see the handy dandy graph that we were showing there. I'll include that in the show notes too. Make it easy for you. Why not? But yes, please go over to the video version of the show, hit that subscribe button and little notification bell so you don't miss a single time we go live. For my final thoughts for today, you want to go ahead and make some changes in your life. You'll make some changes elsewhere as well, beyond your life. And I think that's the thing we have to focus on first. And so many folks want to change the world without realizing they have to change themselves first. So go focus on yourself, live a more healthy life. If you want to learn more about that, please reach out to Kaleena. That's my final thoughts. Kaleena, what do you have for us for your final thoughts?
Yeah, that's about it. Basically, if you are thinking about starting to work out or eat healthy, like don't say like, I'm gonna do it Monday. Don't say I'm gonna do it on the new year. Don't say I'm gonna do it after this weekend. you just start right now, and then you just take all those events as they come. Don't let yourself get derailed. I mean, obviously sometimes we're going to always have like, a holiday or something. It's not going to be perfect, but you just start right away and just make that commitment. So that's basically.
Amen. Truth. All right.
Yeah.
With that, we have to run. Folks, thank you for joining us. And by the way, we had some awesome episodes here this past week. If you missed them, don't worry. I'm going to include the most recent episode over here. If you're joining us on YouTube, and if you are here on YouTube, that means that over here, YouTube's going to go ahead and suggest a video that they think is going to be best for you. Trust the algorithm gods. They know what's best. Otherwise, that being said, follow me on Twitter at B Nichols Liberty. You can find me, Twitter and on Facebook until I'm banned, of course. And also, if you do me a favor, if you want to become an audience insider, $1.99 a month, you get some behind the scenes content plus Q&As with yours truly, and you get access to all my free ebooks over on our Patreon. $1.99 a month, link there at briannicholsshow.com/support. And by the way, you want to go ahead and get some swag. We have some awesome stuff, like we have our Good Ideas Don't Require Force snapback. We have hoodies, we have t-shirts, we have yard signs, backpacks, and more. Go to briannicholsshow.com/shop and use code TBNS at checkout for 10% off. That's all we have for you. Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show. For Kaleena George, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.